to make it as a journalist requires a range of skills. There's loads of research to conduct, ethical standards to uphold, and let's not forget, having thick skin helps. For instance, President Donald Trump has repeatedly called us the enemy of the people. What can you make of this? And what else should you understand about journalists and journalism? A look inside the biz tonight with Rob Rizzuto of MassLive and The Republican, and Mike Dobbs of Reminder Publications.
We strive to be professionals, we strive to be accurate, we strive to cover as many bases of the stories as we can. Mistakes can happen, and then we strive to fix those mistakes. Journalism, like any human endeavor, is not perfect.
Why do you think that, do you think, I should say, that journalists get held to a higher standard in the public eye? As Mike was just saying, mistakes happen, and we work to fix them when we know we make those mistakes.
I think journalists do, and we should. We are responsible for spending our days gathering facts while people are going about their lives, so we can best inform them with the truth. Not just both sides, but all sides.
Part of the reason I wanted to have this chat today was to help people kind of see how the sausage is made a little bit when it comes to journalism, because we know that President Trump has repeatedly, called out the fake news media, called us the fake news media, and I think that there's a very strong narrative out there right now that what we do is fake. So what would you say to someone who holds that opinion?
If you're at war with the truth, the people who bring that probably are considered the opposition party. And in a lot of political conversations, that seems to be the basis. Social media in particular has kind of led to people wanting to be involved in the echo chamber. They want to have their views, ideas, feelings, and beliefs reinforced, not challenged. But I think that the danger is that, when people see something they don't agree with, now it's considered okay to consider that fake.
How do you, when you see something that's been posted either on Facebook or on the website that you think is wrong, what do you do with that?
We will engage our readers on our Facebook page. And my job is to try to say to them gently, professionally, this is the real story here. If you have a question, we'll try to answer that question. The problem today is that people want everything distilled into a 1-minute read. They want everything distilled into an image in 6 words. I can understand this news story because I saw the meme. It's like, no, there are many issues that are confronting us today that cannot be distilled down into some sort of 100-word thing.
But we also have seen social media do good things, right? Most recently, during the tragic shooting at the Capitol Gazette in Annapolis, we saw journalists using Twitter sort of in real time to let people know, here's what I know about the situation, and sharing that information.
I think social media is a great tool to enhance our democracy. It does give people the power to, it adds parity to the average person with the elected official, with the newspaper, and when used with the right intention and the right tone and the right words, I think it can be a great tool to enhance a democracy.
I was on talk radio in the 1980s. I did 5 years of talk radio, and I got great hate mail, creative, really solidly constructed hate mail. And because I was the House liberal at a time during the Reagan administration. So how did hate mail work back then? Somebody actually physically did something. They typed, or they took a pencil or a crayon, and they constructed something.
Did you really get letters in crayon?
No, but I got collages.
Okay, so keep going.
Which I cannot describe on TV. Nonetheless, it was a physical action aimed at one person, me. See, what social media allows you to do is it allows you to broadcast whatever your criticism is, no matter how valid or invalid it might be, at a media personality or reporter or a media outlet. The tone has completely changed out of these things. So now, almost daily you can see either an email or you can see something on social media that is kicking you, fair or not fair. And if it's on social media, it can be repeated, it can be broadcast to a whole audience that before, back in the Stone Age, that hate mail just went to you personally.
Yeah, and we saw this recently, right, with a A former reporter from the Republican newsroom posted a tweet that had inaccurate information in it, and he resigned ultimately. What did you think when you saw that tweet?
What basically was reiterate what the tweet was. He had tweeted on the night of the Annapolis newsroom shooting that the shooter had walked in, dropped a "Make America Great Again" hat on the ground, and then opened fire. And it turns out that the reporter was making I guess you could say he was making a criticism. But basically what he did was broadcast inaccurate information at a time when people are turning to social media to get valid information. And as a reporter, that's just something you absolutely cannot do. And at a time where us, the media, are under an increased level of scrutiny, we absolutely just can't stand for that.
Let's end on a positive note here. When you look at our business today, where do you see it going?
What I see with some of the young people I talk to that are choosing to go into journalism is that despite all the challenges that are facing the industry, economic, political, they are trudging forward and hoping to do what we get up to do every day, and that's tell the truth no matter the repercussions, no matter the environment, no matter the cost.
I have two reporters on my staff. One is 23, one's 24. They both have got training to do digital work and television work, and they chose print. And the reason they chose print, which makes me very happy, is that they want to tell stories completely. They do not want to be hemmed in by the rigors of commercial television, which says, you're going to do 90 seconds or you're going to do 2 minutes on something. We have the ability at our little newspaper to actually say, if you want to write 35 inches on something, as long as it's a good story, you write long. You tell the complete story. And so it makes me feel that there are plenty of young people out there who want to continue the traditions of actually digging into a community and digging into issues.